All right, I'm going to go ahead and get the webinar kicked off, everybody. First and foremost, my name is Earl Lang. I'm a Senior Integrated Marketing Manager here at Dude Solutions, and I have the pleasure of moderating today's TheWorxHub Year in Review 2019 webinar, which our very own Kyle Adamo is going to lead us through here shortly. Wanted to just give a quick heads up. I know we had some issues with people getting links and struggling to get logged into the webinars. That should hopefully have been remedied now. Had a couple messages go out to advise people how to both manually get in and also resend some confirmation invites. So have seen a lot of people have joined us now. Sorry and apologies for those difficulties, but seeing that people are getting in successfully now, which is great. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be moderating today's event. So what I want to do really quickly before I pass it over to Kyle, who will take you through all the stuff you really want to hear about today, is just some general housekeeping and guidelines for today's webinar. First and foremost, phone lines have been muted for participants. That's not to discourage participation from you all. We very much encourage that. But we encourage you to do it via the chat box. It's just more than anything meant to remove that background noise so you guys can hear Kyle and myself loud and clear. So heads up on that. Please submit any questions you have via the chat function or the Q&A. I will be monitoring those as the event goes on today, and then we'll tee those up with Kyle towards the end of the webinar. If we don't have the chance to dive into it today, no worries. We've got your information, being that you guys are all extremely valued clients, and we'll follow up with you directly on those if we don't get a chance to tackle it today. Last but not least, we are recording this as well, so you will see an email from us in the event that you weren't able to attend, or for those of you who might have to drop off early, we will follow up with recording as well. So should receive that in the mail or in your email from us over the next day or two after this event concludes. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and kind of kick this over to Kyle, who will take you through the bulk of the content for today's presentation. Kyle, it's all you.
Awesome. Thanks, Earl. Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon or morning, depending on where you are. I'm Kyle Adamo. I'm the Senior Product Manager for Healthcare. In the picture here, I'm the guy with the beard. Well, one of the guys with the beard. I've been doing this for a long time. I've been working in on software solutions for senior living for 20 years. Let me tell you about a bit of a milestone. 20 years in, I have a new neighbor that moves in across the street. She comes over to introduce herself. I'm wearing a Dude Solution shirt. She says, "Oh, you work for the Dude?" And I'm like, "Oh my goodness, here we go." She uses the TheWorxHub. First time ever that's happened that a random stranger knew who the Dude was and used our particular product. So great day. Took 20 years to get to that stage, but here we are. So we got a lot of content today. The purpose of this webinar is just to sort of refresh everyone's memory or to enlighten you on some of the new stuff that's changed in the TheWorxHub over the last year. Everyone's got busy lives. We're doing a lot of stuff in the background on the TheWorxHub, new features, new functions, new applications. We distribute those as best we can via release notes through the app, through emails and whatnot. Not everyone sees them. It's not your most pressing thing on any given day. So we just want to make sure that we take a moment to sort of recollect exactly what's happened in product. This is also good for us to sort of recap what we've done and make sure that everyone knows that here's the new stuff that's launched in the last year. Here's how you can take advantage of it. Here's how you can put that stuff to use. Because I know we're sort of all busy with our heads down trying to get get through every day, so it's not easy to sit down and sort of figure out exactly what you may have missed. But I'll take you through as best I can some of the new stuff in the product. I want to quickly run through sort of a year in data to show you the scale that the TheWorxHub is at. We're collecting data all the time. There's always some interesting insights that we get out of mining the data with every new year. We're going to talk about new feature launches. So what are the new things, the major things? There's a million features we've launched, but the major things that we've launched over the last year, new integration partners that we've got, and just a bit of a heads up into the 2020 roadmap of what we're going to be looking at and focusing on next year. So let's jump into 2019. It was a growth year for us, of course. Most of these metrics that we look at, this data is data that you guys generate, all of you on the phone. This is your data. Over the year of 2019, we saw 13.5 million new work orders go through the TheWorxHub. That's immense. That's a ton. It's about 4.5 million labor hours in there. And another one that's interesting that is really a senior living phenomenon is we've seen $11.5 million dollars in billable work orders. So this is money that's coming back into your budget. Well, that's the theory. I don't know if it actually plays out like that in the real world, but this is for all of your billable work orders that you do, which is sort of an emerging trend over the last 5-6 years in senior living that we've seen, and that's been growing ever since we started. We just see more and more people doing fee for service, which is good for your bottom lines. A lot of stuff has been going on. We're sort of working at such a fast pace, we don't always take a moment to sit back and see what's going on. But in the TheWorxHub in the last year, we got 87,000 new users on the system. We always encourage our users, if you're spending more than a couple minutes trying to figure something out in our system, hit the chat link, email us, call us, start a support case with our team. We're there to help, and we serviced over 13,000 support cases in the last year. We did about 24 software releases. So this is us on the development side, churning out new stuff, working on new features, fixes, performance, all that sort of stuff. Within those 24 releases, we have a portal within our company that we store ideas that come from our clients. So as you speak to your support rep, your implementation rep, even the sales rep, and you've got ideas for things in the software, they go into a platform that we use to manage them. We shipped 74 of those features that came directly from you in the last 12 months. So that's been extremely helpful, having a good place to monitor that feedback we get and the ideas that we get and turn those around into real life working software. So let's talk about some of those features. There's been a lot going on in the last year. There's been a lot of new features and functions that we've launched. One of the things that we launched was a whole new application, an add-on app called our Space Management app. This allows you to create a digital twin of your drawings. So if you've got architectural and life safety drawings, typically those might be in binders. They could be in AutoCAD. They could be in PDF. They could be printed and posted on a wall. They could be rolled up in a tube. They could be any one of those combinations of things. We can now upload those files to the TheWorxHub and merge that drawing information with your TheWorxHub data. So you can explore all of the different rooms within your spaces, get all the attachments and files and pictures associated with those rooms. You can see all of your work orders and where they land on your drawings. You can see where all of your equipment and assets are and drill into those through this visual interface. You can even add layers if you've got life safety drawings on top of your floor plan, your architectural floor plan. You can put life safety layers as well. So you can, if you want to see means of egress or water shutoffs or exit lights, all that stuff can be overlaid on top of your drawing. And you can even use we call a usage function to see how your spaces are being used. So it can color code your drawing. Here you can see an example of it here to see what floor plan things are. We've got a few other feature requests around this to show rooms that are occupied through color coding. So we're working on all those things and working on how to integrate them into our application. So it's something we're really proud of. It's evolving, it's growing. We're investing more into it to make it even better. But it's a great tool, and this adds on to your TheWorxHub pretty easily. One of the other things that we get out of space management is a bit more intuitive and accurate way for people to pick locations for their requests. So as your requesters are using the TheWorxHub to submit a request for, say, corrective work, let's say it's the light that's out, currently they have to search for a location within our location picker, or they can pop up a tree view to sort of expand these folders to see the location they're looking for. Once you turn on the space management application, there's a new way of accessing that through drawings, where you can go to start at a campus map, click on a building, from that building, click on a floor, from that floor, click on the specific room. And this really increases data accuracy and sort of shortens onboarding time for new users or new staff members who aren't that familiar with the layout of your community. They can use this to pick exactly where their problem is and really enhance those work requests to make sure they're as accurate as possible. Another thing that we launched, it's called push notifications. This is the ability for us to push notifications to your system tray on your desktop. You've probably seen these lots with emails and things like that. We can also get the TheWorxHub to send notifications to your desktop, so you don't actually have to be sitting and looking at the TheWorxHub to get these notifications. And you can get notifications for 2 different scenarios: new work requests that have come in and new work order assignments. So if you're someone who's dispatching or triaging inbound work requests and having to assign those out to people and accept and process and approve new requests, you don't have to stay locked into the TheWorxHub. You can get these push notifications to your desktop and even to your mobile device. You can get them on multiple channels at the same time if you want. Currently, this is not available for Internet Explorer or Safari. Sorry, guys. It's just we're leveraging some new technology in browsers, and those browsers just don't currently support it. So if you're in Chrome or Firefox or Microsoft Edge, these will work on your Android phone. You can get these push notifications. And it's a single click. It'll take you right into that record, so you can start to work with it. Something we're going to be investing more and looking at more places that we can push out these notifications so that you can be notified in real time. These really help. One of the things that we've seen in our data is this can really help shorten the time to completion for work orders, because if a request comes in and you know about it right away, and you can assign it and dispatch it to people, that really abbreviates the time that work order stays open or stays in a status of inactivity. So you can really get those into the queue quickly. One thing that we most recently launched is something called Round Robin Assignment. This is a pretty advanced feature, and what this is about is taking an existing concept within the TheWorxHub called teams. Teams being a collection of individuals who have similar trades or similar interests and do work as part of that team. You can turn a team into a round robin assignment queue, and essentially what this means is it allows you to take a collection of people and do what we call a round robin. It essentially looks like this. Let's say both me, Kyle, and Diego are part of a queue, one of these round robin queues. What it can do is see that Diego's first in the queue. So a work order comes in, you assign it to this team, and what it's going to say is Diego's first in the queue. He should get this work order, but we can also test to see if he's working right now. So there's capabilities within the staff profile to track working hours for people, as well as away from work. Away from work means this could be holidays, personal appointments, time off, that sort of stuff. So it can see if he's working right now, and if he is, assign Diego and move him to the bottom of the queue. If he's not working, look to see who's next. So in this case, Kyle's next. So is Kyle working? If he's working, assign him and move him to the bottom of the queue. If he's not, assign it to the team. So this takes the concept of a team, which is a team before round robin assignments was basically a way to put generic assignments on a team. So let's say you had all of your HVAC techs were part of a team. Work orders could get assigned or routed automatically to that team, and then it would show up in their just my work, just my teams area of the dashboard, and they would basically they'd be picking stuff out of a queue. So they'd see, here's all my team work orders, I have availability, I'm going to pick that, and what it does is it unassigns the team and assigns them as an individual. What the round robin does is it does that part automatically. So you can set certain situations up so that you don't have to think about how to dispatch this or how to assign it. The round robin will just take care of it, and it'll sort of balance the workload and make sure people are available. Okay, it's another place where we're looking to enhance and invest more energy to sort of allow you to put certain things on autopilot. Not everything you're ever going to want is going to be automated. You're still going to have to interject and schedule and think things through sometimes, but there's certain areas where you can eliminate low value decision making where you're spending time thinking about something that you ought to be doing something else at that time. There's another feature that sort of a lot of people missed because it seems so subtle, but it has a lot of power, especially when you bundle it with the previous concept of round robins. This is the idea that you can create a template, and you can say this template is going to be available for requests. So meaning, let's say you have 10 very, very common work requests that come in. You can create those as templates. And a template is like, it's essentially what the resulting work order is going to look like. It's already categorized, it's already prioritized, and it can already be assigned. And so what happens when you use this skip request status option is a request. As soon as it comes in from a requester, it can go straight to an assignment. So it skips the whole need for you to approve it and process it and dispatch it. You can automate that whole process, so that as soon as that request comes in, if someone is using the template, it can skip through the whole pending request state and go straight into the in progress and get assigned to somebody. You're not going to use this for everything, but there are certain common things with light out and temperature changes and things like that that you might need to. You could fully automate and take some of the pain out of processing inbound requests. So this will really allow you to on the template, you can assign it straight to an individual, you can assign it to a team, or you can assign it to a round robin team, such that the round robin will run as soon as this request comes in and find the person who's available, who's next up in queue, and assign it straight to them. So it's pretty powerful when you pair all these different things together. Early in the year, we did a lot of work around cost tracking in our system, with the point of getting to the system to a place where we can roll up all of your work order costs into budgets. So using an account budget code pick list that we have in our system, you can define what all of your budget codes are. You can define in your settings area under work orders, under budgets, you can define when your fiscal year changes, and you can define what your budget values are for your different budget codes. So you can see this example on screen. I got over 40,000 in parts budget. I can see my year to date, what I've spent on that, and my percentage of budget. Am I over, am I under, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a tool that reads your work order data and rolls all this data up into your budgets. This came, when we rolled this out, this came at the same time as some overhauls to our desktop and mobile components of a work order that allow you to track costs. So there's a lot of automation that happens when you log time and you consume inventory, where it'll automatically update this cost panel, but you can add ad hoc costs. You can add different budget on each of those costs. You can sort of default how your budgets work on those. So it becomes very, very automated. On some of the really, I guess, non-standard costs that you might be tracking, you can sort of finesse what your budget code is for those, so you can get accurate data reporting. And you can do this all on mobile and desktop. We never had the capability to track costs on mobile in this capacity, and now you can make this available to people through permissions. And this is another place where we're taking a lot of feature enhancements and trying to make this even better. But those two things, the budget roll-ups and this whole cost panel, they come together as a team. You got to use both of these to make it work. And when we launched the cost and budgeting, there's a lot more reporting that went with that too, and some fine-tuning around how we report on costs. One other thing that we launched, this is from a lot of client feedback that we got. With our current system, you've got all of your requesters who submit requests into maintenance or housekeeping or IT or landscaping. Those requesters always had a login for the TheWorxHub. They had to be a user, they had to have a login. And in some cases, you needed to have requesters who were not authenticated, meaning they aren't signing into the TheWorxHub. These could be, if you have, say, commercial tenants on your property. Some of you do. Let's say the beauty shop is run by a third-party firm. You're responsible for the maintenance within their space, but they are not staff there, so they don't have user accounts for the TheWorxHub. You can give them access to a public request form, which is just an open URL where they could submit their requests and get email updates on them without having to log in. Some of our clients, actually a lot now, have sort of public-facing kiosks. These could be larger touch screens, or they could just be mounted tablets or mounted touchscreen TVs. From those kiosks, you could make this web page available. They wouldn't have to log in. They just click the service request link or whatever and come in and submit a request right from that page. So this is a place where we're seeing a lot of pickup, where people are finding new and creative ways to use this public request form. It's just a simple way to roll out stuff en masse where you don't have staff or logins for those people in the TheWorxHub. So there's a lot of different reasons why you might use this. Okay, there's some downsides to not having a login. You can't track exactly the history of that user. It's harder to communicate back and forth between them. However, the benefits in certain situations outweigh some of those cons of not having a logged in user. And this is protected by something called reCAPTCHA version 3. It's a malicious bot protection system that will make sure that you're not getting, Russian bots hitting your page and submitting work requests, anything like that. Location rollup, this was I would consider a shortcoming in our system historically. If you look at this example of a location tree here, we have all these top-level buildings. There's Aspen, our AL. We've got Cedars, our independent living. We've got exterior of the building. Sycamore, that's our healthcare center. It was difficult in the TheWorxHub to roll up all of your reports to these top levels to say, how many work orders have I done in Aspen versus Villas? How much time do I spend on work orders in Aspen versus Villas? We've built some new capabilities within the TheWorxHub on our work order reports. When you go into your reports, there's grouping options in majority of the reports, and one of the grouping options is called location rollup. And what this will do is roll up your data to the highest level, to those top level buildings in your hierarchy, so that you can get reports similar to this, where this is a cost time analysis. I'm looking at number of work orders by building. So it's rolling up data to these top level locations. So you can see which buildings do I get the most work order? Do I spend the most time? Do they remain open the longest? How much money do I spend in each of these locations? So there's a lot of versatility and capability within this location rollup. So look for that on some of your work order reports. This is something that was been a feature request for a long time. It just took us a while to get the report set up to support this. So it's out there now, and and we're going to be enhancing and rolling out location rollup capabilities to other areas of the system as well. For those of you using our add-on inventory app, there were some less than desirable, I say, workflows that occurred here, where it took a lot of clicks to get your inventory to a point of being able to consume it. Like as soon as you assigned an inventory item, it wasn't really assigned. It was linked, but you needed to specify a quantity. And you'd have to do an extra step to say, I'm using one light bulb, instead of it just assuming you're going to use one. One of the things that we noticed when we got into this, we went and mined some of the data, and I think it was something like 86% of work orders only consumed one of an item. So when you linked a light bulb, you consumed one light bulb. So we could make the assumption that anytime you assign something, we're going to assign a quantity of one. If you need to change that, of course, you can change it and assign 2 or a dozen or whatever you need. But we made a lot of changes to both the desktop and mobile to make sure that this was smooth. It took the minimum amount of clicks to get inventory assigned, consumed, and all that part was seamless for you. So it's been a great improvement. We cut off, I think, 70% of the effort you would spend in workflow. Managing inventory is still a challenge, not just from a software perspective, but inventory is a difficult problem to solve. But we wanted to make sure that the software wasn't a big painful barrier. So we did a lot of enhancements to desktop and mobile to make sure it was as easy as we could make it. Pick list was another area. For those of you who are on this call that have been with the TheWorxHub for a long time, you've probably seen your pick lists grow in length over time, that as you find new needs for how you want to report and slice and dice your data, you kept adding new options to your pick list, and they become difficult and sort of unwieldy, especially for a new staff member coming on trying to make sense of what's in there. There wasn't a capability to search through a pick list. You had to sort of browse through. You just scroll down and read all the entries. Now you can start typing and find your items really quickly. It's been a huge improvement for a lot of people as far as how quickly they can work through these pick lists and make sure your data is as accurate as possible, which is really the point of having these options, so that you can have accurate data to report on later to make better data-related or data-bound decisions. So having really searchable and easy-to-use pick lists was a big effort on ours. So we've rolled this out to most of the forms that you use on a daily basis, and we're going to be implementing these type ahead search pick lists in other areas such as report filters and search filters and things like that. We have another add-on app that a lot of you are using. It's called Room Bookings. This is for essentially event management and room reservations. We added a number of new features to this over the last year. The main part of this application is like a calendar-driven interface for reserving rooms, and we rolled out a new capability called the timeline view that you'll see here in the video. This, if you have a ton of rooms that you're booking, this is an easier view to see your books or to see your rooms and what appointments are out there. We got a lot more aggressive in conflict detection and warning you when there's conflicts, and we made it a heck of a lot easier to create a recurring room booking event. Previously, to create a recurring room booking event, it was not intuitive and took you a lot of time and effort, and now you can do it all in one sort of flow where you drag and drop a spot on the event, or drag and drop an event on a calendar, turn it into a room booking, make it recurring, add your catering requirements, add your equipment reservations, add your setup tasks, tear down tasks, and all that stuff just recurs over time. So that was a huge improvement that was driven by a lot of customer feedback on customers that are using room bookings. Still on the room booking topic, we introduced cloning of room bookings. This allows you to take an existing event and clone it. So sometimes you had a good one that you did previously, you want to do that again, just maybe choose a different room and different time. You can clone a room booking, and it'll carry forward all your equipment and room setup and tear down and all that stuff and catering stuff to that cloned event. Okay, just a time saver to get stuff done quickly. On top of the other enhancements to room bookings, we added a lot of three separate room booking reports, and these let you look at various KPIs in your events, such as total number of events, average duration, total billings, average billing per event, signups, those sorts of things. So you can really look at all your different spaces and all your different event categories and slice and dice the data and figure out what stuff is most popular, what rooms are underutilized, what rooms are overutilized, what types of events drive the most billables and things like that. So some of these reports are really powerful and give you a lot of good insights into your data. Okay, and one of the other ones that we've included in the billings in the reporting is the room booking billings report. This allows you to see historically, you can go back and see exactly what transactions and billables there were, who was being billed, what those items were. You can even turn this report into show you the exact line items. There's an option on the report to show you the exact line items that were billed for. So if, for example, in this first record that you see here, Cindy Watson, there's $11 bill. This could be the line items that might be combined to form $11 could be, a fee for the drinks and a fee for a ticket or something like that. You can break this out to see those exact line items that someone's being charged. This is also the report that you can use to see any department-related billings. So perhaps there's some billables that need to be sent to your marketing department. You can have billables that are linked to that marketing department. You can run this report to show exactly what those billables were. Okay, so let me get into another feature that a lot of people missed. On your request form, at the top of the form that all of your requesters use to submit requests, you can put a message up there. And we've had that message capability for a long time, but we've introduced the capability to slightly format it. You can bold things, you can italicize things, and you can include links to other places. So this is a good example here where you can put instructions for people as to what to do in an emergency, what number to call, a link to maybe your internal website for instructions on what to do in emergencies. So you can include messaging at the very top of the request form, and that'll apply to the request form that logged in users use, as well as public requests. You can also put messaging on there too. And this can be department specific. So you might have some messaging for maintenance when people are submitting a maintenance request, different messaging for those submitting housekeeping requests, and so on. That's how this part works, is you create it in settings for a given department, and it'll just appear on top of that request form so people can see it. Okay, so on top of all of those things that we've talked about, from space management, large applications like space management, down to these sort of nitty-gritty of these features of putting messages on your request form, There's a lot of stuff to keep up to date on. And I just want to remind everyone that when you're inside the TheWorxHub, under your help menu, there's a section called Help Site. And this will take you to a landing page for the Help Site. And there you'll see a What's New button. And this will take you to the release notes. And you can also, at the bottom of that release notes page, there's a release notes archive link. And you can go back through every release that we've done to see what was shipped in each of those. So again, that's under your help menu in the application. Click Visit Help Site. That'll take you to sort of our help content, and then you can go to What's New from there. Okay, one other thing that I just wanted to mention is in 2019, the TheWorxHub, we're very proud of this. TheWorxHub won a Vision Award from FacilitiesNet for Buildings IoT and software category. So this was a big win for us. We're up against some steep competition, so it was nice to be recognized here. And FacilitiesNet, they're a reputable source, a reputable destination on the web. So it was nice to get recognized in this way. Let's talk briefly. Something we don't talk about that much is some integration partners. We've got a couple new ones coming online that I want to get to. Not everyone knows about this, but we've got some ADT, this is admission discharge transfer integrations to get resident data into the TheWorxHub. We've got some live with NetSmart, LPC Cloud, that's formerly AOD, and Vitals. We're still sort of rattling the cages for point-click care to see if we can get that live, but that'll probably be a 2020 project at this point. We've got a whole other growing area of integrations, and this is a work request integration with resident engagement portals. We're seeing a lot of these new vendors pop up. Some of the major ones, including Vibrant, formerly called Senior Portal, Cubigo, Ripple, CareMerge, and Touchdown. They're all doing these sorts of portals that are resident-facing things. Typically, they're positioned as engagement portals for residents and families. So we've got a lot of partners there and a couple new ones coming soon. So we already have an integration with Touchdown. It's a real early version of an integration that's like an email to ticket integration. It's not ideal because it's sort of a one-way communication. They're going to be moving to our API, which means there can be two-way communication. And when I mean two-way, I mean a resident submits a request through Touchdown, for example. They can also see the status updates on that request through that same portal. That's a two-way communication where they can see the status request. All these other partners, Vibrant, K4 Connect, are already doing that. Touchdown was on an older technology, and now they're moving to the new one. And sort of post, we were at Leading Age this year and had a lot of good conversations with Senior TV, and we're working on an integration with them too through their set-top box or their product that's called Engage 360. It'll allow your senior residents to submit requests through their set-top box and go straight to the TheWorxHub. So we expect both those things in early 2020, but we'll keep you posted on those, and you'll probably see emails and notices about those as they launch. But this is a really growing area, and we're seeing a lot of success with integrating with these partners, and it allows your residents to stay in a application that's designed for them. The TheWorxHub wasn't designed for your senior residents. We have the capability for them to log in and submit requests, but I would prefer it if they stayed within a software platform for that purpose that is designed for them. Includes all the other stuff they care about. Here's your menus for in the dining room today. Here's activities that are happening today. Here's how you submit a service request, and just send that request to the TheWorxHub as a back-end management tool, but not make them leave that interface. Just keep them there. So we're seeing a lot of growth in that regard. So let's talk about 2020. We're always planning new things that we're working on, and there's always 10 times more that we need to do than we actually can do. So we have to put some areas of focus. One of the things that we're looking to do is to leverage the space interface a lot more, a new space management application, to let you see occupied rooms, let you see vacant rooms, and coordinate move processes of residents through that interface. Another area where we want to improve, we're calling it hourly response time data. So in the TheWorxHub, when a work order is opened to when it's completed, we're always counting in days. It's 0 days, it's 1 day, it's 2 days, it's 20 days. We can't tell you if something took 5 hours or 2 hours. A lot of the way people are moving now on their work orders, they're looking for more metrics that are more granular than days. They want to know how many hours on average do requests stay in a pending state before someone triages them and accepts them. We can't tell you that information on aggregate right now. On an individual work order, we can, but to look at what happened in the last month or the last year, we don't have that sort of aggregated hourly response time data. We're going to be working on that this year. Another big push for us is to improve our PM templates that are available to you to make these more in line with compliance initiatives that are out there, life safety compliance, fire code compliance, that sort of stuff. We have some templates that we can import for you, but they're not always, if you don't talk to us to get those templates imported, they're not available for you. We want to make those available inside the application and keep them updated as compliance rules change. So you're going to see some emphasis on that over the next year, where we try and tidy up how we can provide your preventative maintenance templates through the system, and you can leverage those and tweak them for your needs. As well as making templates more in line with code compliance, we want to reference life safety code in the application itself, so it makes it easier for you to report and drill down on what are the things that you're doing that are keeping you in compliance, and more importantly, what stuff is out there that would have you out of compliance. So this involves us getting a bit more rigor around tagging items with life safety code references and whatnot. We also want to begin looking at temp sensors. If you've been following us for a while, this might sound like a broken record because we talk about this every year. We're finally at the stage where we've got the technology in place where it looks like we're going to be able to support this, and we're going to be moving forward with this year, probably towards the second half of the year. So this could be temperature sensors that you might use for room temperature, water temperature, any sort of temperature. Maybe you have them inside fridges, or maybe you have them inside appliances and things like that. So you can do all of these things with temp sensors and have them trigger corrective action in our system. So as we get closer to rollout of this, we're going to be looking for beta people and pilot sites to help us work with these different temp sensors. Barcode scanning. Right now, when you scan a barcode, unless you're using Bluetooth barcode scanning, if you're using just your onboard camera on your device, you need a third-party app called Pick2Shop. This is clunky in a lot of cases. Often you don't want to install something else just to scan the barcode. So we're working on a methodology where we can scan barcodes just through the browser without relying on a third-party app like this. So we're still doing some R&D on that to make sure we can understand exactly what barcodes we can support and which browsers we can support. We're looking at Safari mostly. We're not going to have a problem with Chrome, but when it comes to leveraging the browser to scan a barcode, it's not going to be as clear-cut that every browser is going to work. So we're doing some R&D on that. Our goal is to get rid of reliance on Pick2Shop and just make it, just visit a web page and you can scan a barcode without an issue. And then new UIs. So the TheWorxHub is getting some love in 2020. We're spending a lot of time on some new user interface areas. We're not just going to, don't be afraid, we're not just going to roll it out and say, ta-da, it's changed. We're going to go through a lot of consulting with our clients. We're going through a whole user experience design phase, and we're looking for testing help. And when I mean testing help, I mean maybe an hour every quarter where you get on a call with us or a webinar with us, and we take you through some prototypes and some designs, and we get your feedback. We talk about your workflows and figure out how we can solve that workflow with the design of the product. This is a big initiative for us because we can't, we have so many users, we can't just roll stuff out. We need to incrementally make changes. We need to be really in step with our clients to understand how they're using the system. We don't want you to have to reuse or relearn new stuff. We want to make sure that it's intuitive and it performs well and all that stuff. So over time, you'll see some changes throughout the system. We'll give you a lot of lead time. We'll give you a chance to participate in the testing and design of those things. So we're really excited about this next phase. So one of the things I want to do is I'm going to throw to Earl to get Earl to launch a poll, because we are looking for volunteers who can potentially put aside an hour every 3 months to maybe connect with us. And we're looking to see if there's anyone on this call who'd like to participate in this new user experience group. Essentially, we'd probably try and schedule appointments with you to show you new designs, to see your feedback, to see how you might change it. This really gives you a chance to have a say in how the product looks and feels and works. So we thought we'd put it out to this group while we had a bunch of people on the phone to see if anyone would like to participate. So Earl has put a poll on screen. It's a simple question. Do you want to participate? Yes or no? Just if you're interested, just click yes. We'll reach out to you to add you to the list. And as we start to get to a point where we're looking for feedback, probably sometime in Q1 2020, we'll give you some advance notice. We'll hit people up with various times, and we'll see if we can get together briefly to go through some of these new designs and get feedback.
And just a heads up to everybody, that poll has been pushed out live. It's been out for a minute. Looks like we've got over 30 responses already, which is great. But if anybody else still would like to participate or not, just click that out, or click pretty straightforward yes or no on that, and we'll circle back with you and let you know more.
This sort of stuff is extremely helpful to us. And for those of you who use the TheWorxHub quite frequently, you know how we can push sort of notifications through the app of things that are going on, such as this webinar. We can advertise it there. Due to new releases, new feature functionality, we have these, what we call internally, we call them guides that pop up. So we're going to be also using that same tool to look for volunteers amongst our user base as well. But this is the people who have actively signed up for this webinar are probably some of our best candidates to go through a lot of these testing and sort of deep thinking, where we have to take you into the weeds to talk through a process and figure out how we can improve it. So I really appreciate those who've clicked yes on that. This will be a great win for us to make sure we build the best product possible. All right, next thing, we're going to get into one more poll, I believe. Earl, let me throw this to you to talk about what this next poll is about.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks, Kyle. So Kyle covered a lot of fantastic updates with the TheWorxHub today. Many of you guys are familiar with a lot of the basic and core modules that we offer because you use them every day in the TheWorxHub, right? But if there's anything today that Kyle brought up, especially some of the newer stuff like space management, we've seen an awesome amount of interest come in with these new platforms and these modules because they do help you guys improve your operations on a day-to-day business and the senior living communities that you can serve or you serve. So if anything today did pique your interest in particular that Kyle was going through that you'd like to get more information on, I've launched a poll that gives you options where we can follow up with you, where if you'd like to know more about, I mentioned earlier, space management or housekeeping, QA surveys, capital planning, you name it, there's a lot there that we covered today. Feel free to fill those out. I'm going to leave this up for about 30 more seconds, but this is a great way for us to circle back with you and make sure you get the information you need on that so you can figure out more on how this might work with your community and your team. And Kyle, while we're leaving that poll up, if you're ready, I think we were going to transition to Q&A after this. We have had a few questions come in, and I'm happy to tee those up for you. Yeah,
let's do those. Let's dig into some of those. I left some time at the end just so we can get through these because I know there'd be a few.
No, that's great. First question came in was on room bookings, and it's kind of a two-part question. So for the first one, with the room bookings module, are you able to do billing within that module?
Yes, you are. So through the room booking app, you can bill for several things. It's really free form. You know, you could create, there's a settings area where you can create your common billable items. They might be a room reservation fee. It could be a ticket. It could be different catering items that you want. And you can bill for all these things through the room booking interface. And the other part of the question about the work orders for setup and teardown, all that stuff is assuming that not only are you just running room bookings, but your TheWorxHub implementation also has a maintenance application or maybe a housekeeping application. You can trigger work orders from a room setup and teardown into all those various departments. So what's very common for us on room bookings is that a lot of cases our customers have a maintenance department running on the TheWorxHub, a housekeeping department, and in some cases an IT department as well. And from room bookings, you can trigger The setup, which is maybe maintenance has to go and move tables and chairs into that room and set them up. Housekeeping then follows up and just vacuums and dusts and things like that. Maybe IT has to then come and set up the projector or AV. And likewise, after the event, you can trigger teardowns of those things as well. And all the setup and teardown essentially creates a buffer around that event on your calendar. So if the event's running from 1 to 2, but you need an hour setup and an hour teardown, that's represented in your calendar just to help eliminate some of those conflicts where you're setting up one event and the other event is trying to tear down, and you can work those into your planning.
No, that's great. You kind of already answered the second part of that question. Thanks for that. It was directly tied with setup teardown functionality that you addressed, so that's great. Next question, sorting through, got a bunch of these. Let's see. One question came in about getting a URL for public requests. I'm not sure if I fully understand that.
I do.
Okay.
I'll take that one. So in order for the public request to be enabled, you need to go to, let's do it live, guys. Here we go. In your settings, go to work orders. On this basic settings sub-tab, there's this whole requester form settings, and there's a checkbox for allow public request form, and that will enable that public request form, and then go to URL will be the URL for that, and you can share this URL to anybody who needs access to it. It's as simple as that. Okay, there's some other options too to default, because we're trying to make the public request form as quick and easy as possible for people. You can default the source of work on that form, so it automatically gets populated for you. And if you want, you can show a template picker there if you want your public requesters to use templates. Okay, so that's it. Yeah. Come in here, save it, and keep in mind that the public request form, in my case, in my implementation here, I'm running multiple work order departments, maintenance, housekeeping, IT. You have to configure this for each department. It's the same URL, but you're enabling people to submit a request into maintenance, into housekeeping, etc. And you have to enable it through these different tabs.
No, that's great. Thanks for that, Kyle. Another question that came in around options with the attendance feature, and that question is, are we considering adding any more options to this? Particularly some context, I'm a wellness director, and we're looking for a good attendance tracking system for our wellness center and group exercise classes.
We can probably connect with you in particular about that. We do attendance tracking on our room bookings. It may or may not fit for what you're trying to do there, but we can reach out to talk to you about that. To figure out if there's a fit or not. So in any room booking, we can make it open for attendees. Those can be residents, they can be staff, they could even be outsiders potentially through a mechanism that we call ad hoc attendees. It may or may not work for you. We'd probably want to dig into how you want to use that. There are no plans to add a lot more functionality around the attendance feature in our system, but if we connect with you and you can sort of explain to us what you're looking for, that might change. Okay, so we've got your details here. I can have someone follow up with you to sort of pick your brain as to what you're looking for there.
Yeah,
so we're
perfect. Thanks. Another question came in. This one's more centered on transportation. Is there any way to report wait times for how long a resident waits for a driver to pick them up?
Not currently, not in a really easy way where you can generate a report or get that on screen. We may have that data in the back end, but we'd have to build some capacity to sort of surface that so you can look at it. This is something that's in our idea portal already. It may have come from you or came from someone else because it's a common request that we've been looking at. As we look at ways we can enhance our transportation app, this is definitely one that we want to focus on. You raise a good point. That is a metric that is, I think, key to your transportation offering. Is you want to make sure that your residents are picked up and delivered to their destination promptly and not keep them waiting. So I'll look into that to see what capacity we have now. I don't think we have a great answer for you there, but it is something where we can go and figure out ways to improve the system around that, because this is not a new idea. This is something that comes up every now and then, and we can definitely dig into it.
No, that sounds great. Thanks, Kyle. There's a few more questions that have trickled in. A lot of them are a little in the weeds and specific, so we're going to take a few of those offline. We'll go ahead and wrap up a few minutes early today and give you a little bit of time back. Wanted to thank everybody for your time. Great turnout, great attendance today. Certainly know how busy you guys are and really appreciate it. Hope that you found the information super insightful and helpful, and we'll definitely make sure we get the right people in our organization notified for those of you guys who filled out the polls and requested a follow-up. We'll get those routed and should have somebody reaching out to you over the next couple of days on those. Kyle, anything else to add before we close things down?
There was a couple other questions I just wanted to touch on if we got a minute. One was about automated phone options that will work with the work request submission. We currently don't have this right now. I know that phone is often a great mechanism for your senior population. It's something we've looked at. We don't have an answer for it yet, but we've got a sort of a feature idea out there in our portal that I add some upvotes on that to give it a bit more emphasis for us to look at. It is something that we've thought about lots and we might be looking at in the future. We'll see. I'm not too sure yet. And there was another question about what was it about BEOs maybe?
Yeah, no. So
yeah. So that's the banquet event order. So it's really sort of the template for an event. So you could put a BEO as an attachment on a room booking request and a floor plan. If the floor plan is like how you want the room configured, you could attach those as files to that room booking. And those files, I believe we can make them accessible to the room booking triggers setup tasks and setup work orders. Those files can be made available to those work orders as well. So if the maintenance crew is coming in to set it up according to the floor plan, they'll have access to those files. So in a way we can handle that. I don't know if that particularly handles how you imagine it working, but I think a lot of our customers do that where they'll just attach these files to the room booking request. Any of the other questions that are on here, some of them are support or issues that we're having. We'll have someone follow up with you. I'm going to review these and I'll get back to people if there's other ones that were left unanswered. And I do want to mention Dude U coming up 2020 in May. Dude University is our annual user conference where we get thousands of people there. And it's all about the software. It's all about how you're using the system. It's all about how you're changing your organizations for the better and dealing with the issues that you have there and how we can help you. So do look into Dude University. It's a great value and you get sort of a compressed training and implementation and boot camp essentially. You get access to your whole Dude team there as well. It's a great event. Put it in your budget.
Well said, Kyle. Obviously, we're super excited about Dude U like we are every year and hope that many of you guys can make it. Thank you all again for attending the presentation. Kyle, thank you for the time. Awesome stuff today. And we will see you guys next time. Everybody have a great rest of your afternoon.
Great. Thanks. Thanks, Earl. Bye.